covert narcissism is very hard to uncover. Someone who is in a relationship with a covert narcissist will wonder for years what is going on. Often they only find out when they are completely burned out. In this video, I tell you about the covert narcissist traits and the overt narcissist signs compared to overt narcissist signs. Covert narcissism in the psychological literature. Psychological literature assumes two main forms of narcissism: overt narcissism and covert narcissism. There are a number of variants within this, but we will now deal with the main group of covert narcissists. The term covert narcissist can cause some confusion. With covert narcissism, you might think that it is a narcissist in the most well-known variant, only then he hides it. According to clinical psychologist Abdul Saad, it is not so much that the person hides his or her narcissism in an instrumental way. It is more of an individual with a certain personality structure that makes it more difficult to express the narcissism openly. Covert narcissism in women and men. Most female narcissists are covert narcissists. This is mainly due to the different role patterns. Yet covert narcissism can occur in both women and men. This video is not about covert narcissistic women or men specifically, but covert narcissism in general. I made another video about female narcissists. Covert narcissism unknown to the public. With a narcissist, most people have an image in mind of a huge blowhole that should always be the center of attention. However, the phenomenon of covert narcissism is much less known. As a result, they are often seen as difficult people, but without realizing how dangerous a covert narcissist really is. Covert narcissist traits. What are the covert narcissist traits? That is an easy question, but the answer is complicated. The big difference between overt narcissism and covert narcissism is that in addition to grandiosity, the covert narcissist also has a sense of inferiority. With an overt narcissist, this is totally suppressed, they only know grandiosity. In the covert narcissist, delusions of grandeur and feelings of inferiority and shame alternate. This also makes the covert narcissist even more sensitive to criticism than the overt narcissist. The slightest comment about them, even if it is intended to help, is taken as a personal attack and insult. A covert narcissist does not tolerate criticism at all, not even constructive criticism. While someone with healthy self-esteem understands that criticism is not the same as total rejection. It is a complete humiliation for the covert narcissist. The delusions of grandeur of the covert narcissist are much more subtle than that of the overt narcissist. This also means that they are much less likely to be recognized as a narcissist. How the covert narcissist looks at himself. The covert narcissist's delusions of grandeur are based on the negative. This is in contrast to the overt narcissist, whose delusions of grandeur are based on an overly positive self-image. The self-image of covert narcissists, on the other hand, is based more on thoughts like, if only others could see how brilliant I am, or if only I had the chance to. So, just like overt narcissism, the focus is on being special. But with covert narcissism, there is an element of the underdog in it. Of not being recognized. And therefore also of the unfulfilled. That also means that covert narcissists are not winners in the sense of what we mean by them in our society. Unlike overt narcissists, covert narcissists will not be able to rise in the hierarchy as quickly. But the covert narcissist also wants to be seen as a winner. So there is a gap between their idealized false selves and their social position. They bridge this gap by focusing obsessively on what blocks their greatness. They hold others accountable for this and are very resentful of them. Covert narcissism and the upward social comparison. Another big difference is that the overt narcissist makes so-called downward social comparisons. They consider themselves better than others and thus look down on them. This is different with covert narcissism. The covert narcissist makes so-called upward social comparisons. They are painfully aware that they are not at the top of the hierarchy. That triggers envy and resentment towards those above them. So even more than overt narcissists, covert narcissists are jealous. It's hard for them to bear when they see someone else being more successful than them. How the covert narcissist looks at others. Since a covert narcissist cannot play the winner role as the overt narcissist does, they play the victim role. They try to get attention and sympathy by being pathetic. When you meet a covert narcissist for the first time, they will soon come up with sad stories. For example, a female narcissist in a romantic setting will soon start talking about her bad ex-boyfriends. By portraying themselves as the victim, they trigger the compassion of people who have a lot of empathy. This is therefore a group that is more likely to open up to a narcissistic partner. Covert narcissism and social norms. What makes covert narcissism so dangerous is that it is so hard to spot. The covert narcissist, especially the female narcissist, portrays himself as gentle and caring. The covert narcissist also seems to be very aware of social norms. This is partly because they are extremely sensitive to criticism. The covert narcissist will therefore not easily display deviant behavior or adopt a deviant position. This again in contrast to the overt narcissist, who doesn't care at all about social norms. Conformity. Thus, the covert narcissist presents himself as someone who conforms to social norms. But they only do this when others are present. One-on-one with their victims, they show their aggression. Two faces. In the public domain, covert narcissism is difficult to recognize because the covert narcissist behaves socially. But when others don't watch, they are cruel and mean. There are two ways in which covert narcissists manipulate their victims. The first method is that of manipulation. They present themselves as a gentle, caring, and harmless person. This way they get what they want, without the other feeling threatened. The second method is much more aggressive. They apply these when they are one-on-one with their victim. They then show their aggression, and whoever has wronged them in their eyes gets a psychological punishment. False compliments. A specialty of the covert narcissist is giving false compliments. For example, a female narcissist can say to a friend, "You have a beautiful dress on." The friend thinks she is getting a compliment and thanks her. After which she then says, "Only he doesn't suit you." But it can also be much more subtle. The intonation allows them to make the message come across very differently than what is literally said. They can also make comments on a subject that is sensitive to the person they are targeting. The bystanders then do not know that this is so hurtful for them and do not pay attention to it. But when the target will become angry about this, in the eyes of the bystanders, it is the one who is making a fuss. No sense of humor. Narcissists in general have little sense of humor. This is especially true for covert narcissists. Sometimes they fake a sense of humor and produce a fake laugh. But the only thing a narcissist can really laugh about is the suffering of others. Especially when they caused this themselves. To gossip. Covert narcissists like to gossip about others. They hear out their friends, but as soon as they have left the room, the secrets are shared with others. This is also a warning to those with whom this information is shared. Be careful not to tell anything about me, or I will reveal your secrets too. Where do you encounter covert narcissism? It is well known that overt narcissists are often in high positions in business and politics. The covert narcissist, on the other hand, often fills the lower positions. Yet many covert narcissists manage to work themselves into a power structure. You often find them in middle management, in positions that give them some power over others. Bureaucratic positions are also favored by covert narcissists. They can give punishments and make people's lives difficult. Internet trolls. We've all had to deal with them at some point. Those annoying people on the internet who take pleasure in insulting unknown people randomly. We call them internet trolls. Actually, this behavior is exactly in line with covert narcissism. Of course, based on messages on the internet, I am not allowed to label anyone a covert narcissist. But the similarities in behavior are great. In the anonymity of the internet, these types dare to give free rein to their hatred and aggression. Without consequences, they can arbitrarily offend people. That makes the internet a mecca for covert narcissists. If you want to know more about covert narcissism, read the article on the website. There you find some real-life examples of covert narcissists. On the website, you can also download a free ebook with 10 tips for recovery after narcissistic abuse. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notification bell so you don't miss our new videos. Thanks for watching, and I see you in our next video.